Yep.
Apologize. Just came on. He's got no idea what we're talking about yet.
Well, I saw your Crayola art at the start of the show, so I got that much context.
Oh shit! And now I'm having problems with your audio. So
no, it's better.
your
It's
mouth
better
for a
now.
minute, Mario.
What? My audio's fine. It's always bad.
Lost you. Should have you back. Go ahead.
Talking. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, there you are.
It's what I do on the
I can hear you.
internet.
All right. I see Sergeant Major joins us this morning, but Trish has first blood. Dad, I saw that you tuned in to watch the special last night at 2000. You tuned in around 2100 and missed most of it. Let me know if you went back and watched it. I think it was pretty good. So before we get into this morning's topic, Mario, are you tracking on the show that I did last night with Be Controversial?
I'm aware of the subject matter. I did not. I'm going to watch it tonight. I was watching Nick Fuentes take down Tim Pool last night. That was pretty funny. just happened to randomly fall upon that. I'm like, oh god, I can't resist. You know me. I
may have to see
celeb drama. Oh my god. Yeah, you know. Yep.
Oh, and I see Patrick Brown joins us, pulling double duty on Rumble and YouTube. Thanks for that, brother. I'm all Will Banks, Uncle Steve. Good morning. I think I saw Pitt Danny a minute ago, or did I just see Patrick? Fish and Golf is with us this morning. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so this was breaking news last night. Around 9 o'clock, I guess it was released that there's a new travel ban. Now, in Trump's first term, he famously issued a similar travel ban. This one includes more countries. I believe the first one was 9 countries. Is that right, Mario?
Yeah, something like that. It was basically just the Islamic countries. So with maybe the only African one being Sudan, but that's like Arabized Africa anyway. So basically it was the Muslim travel ban as they claimed at the time.
Yes, and it was of course repeatedly criticized as being a Muslim travel ban, and you know one of the immediate criticism, probably the only semi-intelligible criticism, was, oh, this is a violation of First Amendment protection of freedom of religion. No. Okay, so that was kind of the argument. That argument falls flat on its face in a lot of ways.
The argument was the same argument that the left has been. You give the left like too much like credit as far as what their reasoning and rationale is. Okay, it was because it was mean. It was mean to brown people. That's why. Okay, it was mean and it was racist. That's why it was bad, and that's why they were against it.
You're not wrong, and I don't disagree with you. But let's be clear. There is a distinction between the left and the government officials of the left. And so the government officials of the left, they have to couch things like what you've just described. Oh, well, it's mean to brown people and therefore bad. They have to couch it in terms of some kind of legal rationale in order to make policy on it. And they couched it then in arguments about religious liberty and said this is discrimination against people based on their religion. The First Amendment protects the free practice of religion. And of course, the correct rebuttal to that is, now hold on a minute. Understand the Constitution presupposes that all people, American citizens or not, have the rights that are assumed to exist by the Constitution. But it is then the responsibility of the United States to secure those liberties and defend those liberties only for American citizens. And this is an important distinction, because if you allow the Democrat to make the argument that it is it is unreasonable for us to have a ban against Muslims entering the country, for example, on First Amendment grounds, then the argument you're making is that the responsibility of the U.S. government is to enforce civil liberties globally. And if that argument is to prevail, then we have to wage war on every country on the planet that does not respect free speech, freedom of religion, etc. It would mean that we have to go into every country that doesn't have free access to firearms available to anyone who's willing to purchase them and declare war based on the deprivation of the civil liberty of the right to keep and bear arms.
Let me make this incredibly simple. You do not have a right to enter anyone's country. That is a privilege. Okay?
Correct.
You do not have a right to enter. There is no constitutional right that guarantees anyone entry to the United States. That should be considered a privilege.
Yes, you when you come to this country, you are a guest. That's why if you have a visa, the State Department can revoke, cancel that visa at any time with no reason.
Correct,
they don't even have to state a reason. Now, of course, it's preferable. It's easier to swallow for a lot of people when there's a reason given. Like, for example, you've got this terrorist that just set a bunch of Jews on fire, and the Donald said, you know what? He's got a wife and 4 kids, so we're just going to deport all 6 of them. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Get out. And I'm good with it. I'm totally comfortable with that.
I don't like the motivation behind it, but if the end result is foreigners are out of the country, whatever, I'll take it. So, yeah. Anyway, like I prepared a whole year for this terrorist attack, and I came up with Windex bottles with rubber bands.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean,
didn't he set himself on fire and suffer some serious burns in the course of the attack?
I don't know. It really looks like one of those type of operations where you have a mentally disturbed man. Probably he spent the last year too much time online. The last year in relation to his, the last 5. The last year was probably perpetually online. Probably got radicalized, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone was in a chat forum or something nudging him to do something. So wouldn't be surprised at all.
He was on our radar.
He was, yeah, probably. Well, I mean, obviously not. If you don't want to be on the FBI's radar, then all you need to do is just overstay your visa, and then no one knows what the hell you're doing. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned overstaying the visa. I've got a couple articles here, and we'll get to those in a minute. And in fact, I want to start with the CNN article because I want to look at how they're going to kind of spin this to make it a negative. But let's be clear. One of the primary rationales here has to do with nations that have a very high propensity to visa overstays. We've talked about this many times on the show before. You have kind of broadly 2 categories.
That's what a lot of these bans are for. Because these are, it's not just the potential for them being terrorists. It's not just they're anti-Semitism countries. It's also they don't fucking go home once they get in the country. They never go home. Okay, that's why you see a lot of these. That's why you see a lot of these sub-Saharan African countries, to include Haiti. All right, on the list because they just don't go home. They disappear. They disappear into the cracks of American life, and they're never found again. That's why we're not letting them in the country.
And they don't totally disappear, unfortunately.
They'll appear on welfare rolls in blue states.
Yes, and remember they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, and we were told, oh well, these are legal immigrants. It's okay. It's like, no, hold up, no,
they're temporary protected status.
Those Haitians were illegal immigrants to whom the Biden administration issued temporary protected status because it became politically convenient to make them quote unquote legal. Those were in fact hostile foreign invaders that were eating the stray dogs and cats. So that's worth note. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the article from. Actually, no. Before we bring up the article from CNN,
I'm just getting a cup of coffee. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna share this with you. This is Trump's actual statement on the travel ban. We should start with this.
The recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them. In the 21st century, we've seen one terror attack after another carried out by foreign visa overstayers from dangerous places all over the world. And thanks to Biden's open door policies, today there are millions and millions of these illegals who should not be in our country.
Now, when he says millions and millions of these illegals that should not be in our country,
That is correct.
Aaron Olson points out, he says, I heard yesterday that some get a green card, get the benefits, then spend most of their time in the home country. One group that's especially notorious for this are the Somalis.
Yes.
From Ilan Omar's district.
Yeah.
These people come over here. Many of them are registered as asylees, asylum seekers, etc., making the argument that, well, we came from a war-torn, impoverished country where our lives are in danger, and we need asylum so that we can be protected from our big, bad, scary homes that we came from. And they get here, they get that protection, they collect welfare benefits, and then they spend 6 or 8 months out of the year in Somalia.
Yep. We must have read the same story. I read the same thing
and
the other day.
They're collecting the benefits the whole time. They're getting Section 8 housing. They're getting SNAP. They're getting all these taxpayer funded welfare benefits, and not just as illegitimate asylees, but as people who aren't even spending that money here. I mean, okay, the Section 8, they're spending the money on the housing here, but they're basically expatriating funds out of the welfare system back into their home countries.
They're spending a small amount of money on whatever their copay is for their subsidized housing. Okay,
right.
In Minneapolis. So, the refugees in Europe are notorious for this, for exactly what Aaron Olson is saying. Okay, particularly the Somalis, but also the Syrians. All right, like you said, it's not uncommon for them to be spending half the year outside of the country, still collecting the full-time welfare benefits. Okay, notorious examples of Somalis spending 6 months out of the year in Somalia using their welfare money to construct villas and shit, like in Somalia. All right, like complete. Somalis they're very much low trust society. All right, clannish, low trust society people. For them, like we talked about the Indians. Like I criticize Indians. Part of their sense of masculinity is based on, can you scam someone? Can you basically get one over on someone, right? That is considered a virtue in their society, ripping someone off. Okay, that's that because they come from an extreme low trust society, which means you can't give them any benefits here. Okay, they will only abuse anything you give them here or elsewhere.
In my first term, my powerful travel restrictions were one of our most successful policies, and they were a key part of preventing major foreign terror attacks on American soil. We will not let what happened in Europe happen to America. That's why on my first day back in office, I directed the Secretary of State to perform a security review of high-risk regions and make recommendations for where restrictions should be imposed.
Now, when he says we will not let what happened to Europe happen in America, let's make sure that you guys understand what he's talking about. What happened to Europe? What has been happening in Europe? They've had an extreme influx of hostile foreign actors who come in and set up enclaves where they do not allow the police to come in. They'll have pick your host foreign nation, right? There'll be a Somali enclave, there'll be a Syrian enclave, etc. And from these enclaves, largely Muslim groups, they're operating these grooming gangs. They're commonly referred to as grooming gangs, but let's be clear. These are child rape organized gangs. And that has been a huge problem in especially the UK. And so much so that as a result of political correctness, the British government was recently caught with their hands very much in the cookie jar, essentially having been covering up and running cover in the press for these organized rape gangs.
Oh yeah. Let me make this. What's going on in Europe is Europe basically every bad immigration idea that we have had for the past 60 years, okay, since the Hart-Celler Immigration Act, okay, so 60 years of bad immigration policy. Europe has been speed running 60 years of bad immigration policy in 1 decade, okay. That's what's been going on. So psychotic levels of migrants, all right. Literally, the governments of Western Europe, France, Germany, UK, Spain to some degree, but I don't even think they really have the ability to control their own borders. Italy, these are lunatic governments that hate their own people and are clearly working on behalf of dark powers. All right, and I mean it, dark powers, because there's no rationale for it. There isn't the days where we were making the arguments that well, we have to bring in these people so that they can pay for the boomers' pensions. You know what I mean? We need workers and whatever. Well, that's clearly that never happened. They never got jobs per se. They never even fucking tried. They just collect welfare benefits, leech off society, and then every time they win a soccer game, go out and burn the streets and fucking trash the place. All right, that's what migrants, that's what Africans and Middle Easterners are doing in Europe. All right, they contribute nothing to society, nothing. They're only there to take, and the government continues to increase the numbers of them coming into the country. Why? Because they must be evil. Okay, I'm not. When it's not complicated. In fact, no, it's incredibly complicated. Okay, but when it's incredibly complicated in ways that make no sense, then it must be simple. You must be evil, and they all deserve to be deposed. And I'm going to avoid Fed posting. I'm not going to tell you what I really think ought to be done with him. Okay, let's just say Mussolini, 1945.
Sergeant Major asks, can you name a single case of people that are not Muslims setting up a restrictive enclave? And it's a good question. And actually, yes. Here in the U.S., we've had the Tren de Aragua groups taking control of apartment buildings. That is not dissimilar. Because what's happening there, they take over the apartment building, they're collecting the rent from the tenants, terrorizing them with firearms and beatings and acts of violence, and they're controlling those buildings so effectively. Now, I haven't done follow up on that story in a few months, so I'm not sure exactly where it sits right now. But when we covered it before, the police would not enter those apartment buildings for fear of being basically gunned down by Tren de Aragua. So there's a great example of non-Muslims setting up such a restrictive enclave. But you're not wrong to point out that Muslims largely do this. And we've seen the recent stories about Epic City in Texas, where they explicitly state that their intent is to set up such an enclave where they will be enforcing Sharia law at their local local level.
Right, and you could argue that any residential area that is predominantly black also operates the same way. It's not like official policy. They're not posting signs saying that this is Sharia zone, like you said. You know what I mean? But if you were non-black, in particular, if you were white, and you attempted to move about and conduct business freely in such areas, you are in danger. Okay. They will make it quite known that you are not welcome. You will be in danger. That is a form of setting up a restrictive enclave. So. And they've been doing that they've been doing that since the race riots of the 1960s.
Yeah, and cities like Chicago and Detroit are very much patchworks of that.
Yeah,
it's just you have the white district, the black district, the Hispanic district, etc. And what was I going to say? I had another point related to that. Your Chinatowns, your Koreatowns, areas like that are in a lot of ways similar to one of these one of these enclaves, they form under very much the same kind of, it's, hey, we like to be around people who look like us. And essentially everybody but white people are allowed to do that. Where there's a significant difference is Muslims tend to attempt to enforce Sharia law so far as going so far as to have the morality patrols that patrol their enclaves. That's a very significant big deal when those are going on, because they're dangerous, they're violent, they're armed, and they are entirely rogue to the local government of their location. So you have the racial balkanization all over the world. You go anywhere, in any major city in the United States, and you will find a Chinatown, et cetera, et cetera. But those tend to be, cultural hubs where it's okay, cool. I can go to Chinatown and get a good plate of sweet and sour pork and some egg rolls, and that's awesome. But they celebrate their culture, right? Chinese culture has food that we like. It has some art that we like, et cetera, et cetera. Muslim culture is rape and violence. Like that is the religion. That's what their culture is. I've been there.
It's a culture
Their
of
food
submission.
sucks.
Yeah. They have a few. They have a few good ones.
A few, but it's not the broad spice palette like Thai food or.
No, not quite. The stuffed eggplants, those things are magic.
Yes.
Falafel, hummus, okay, shawarmas, all right. That's all great. Their rice dishes are kind of sad looking. It's just like, wow, really, dude? Like, you whip this up with what fell off the back of a USAID truck or something? Like, this sucks. But yeah, also mutton. It's just, I don't know. I'm gonna piss off some people. I don't think mutton and goat. It's just inferior. Anyway, so what's that?
I like curried goat.
Yeah, but they don't like prepare the meat properly. Like they leave knuckles and freaking kneecaps and shit in the meat.
They don't they don't butcher it correctly.
Just exactly. It's like you hacked it into chunks and just stewed it in a pot all day. Like, I don't need to be picking cartilage and aortas and shit out of my meat when I'm trying to eat my food. Anyway.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
it's like you ever see Korean?
Nobody takes the art of butchery seriously outside of superior Western cultures.
You ever had
go get some authentic Chinese chicken?
Well, no, that's what I was going to talk about. So when I was stationed in Korea for a year, and the way that they do fried chicken is basically an abomination. All right. Now I'm not the cooking the meat and all that, the breading and all that. It's similar to American fried chicken. It's fried chicken. You know what I mean? There's only so many ways to do it. But so I go to a fried chicken vendor, and I'm like, order like give me a 3-piece or whatever, right? So I got a breast, a thigh, and a drumstick. All right. And I'm like, okay, great. And then before they put it in the bag, they picked it up and took out these big shears and just started chopping it into pieces and letting it fall into the bag. And I'm like, what are you doing? Stop hacking my meat to pieces. I'm fucking yaman in. Okay. Yaman in imnida. All right. That's what I told him. I'm like, I'm barbarian. I eat it whole. I'm like, stop chopping it up. I'm not eating it with chopsticks, okay? I'm eating it with my hands. I don't give a shit what you think. Eating fried chicken with chopsticks. Get the fuck get out. Get out.
But, yeah. The only utensil one needs for a fried chicken is a bucket.
Yeah.
2 buckets if you're trying to keep the yard clean.
Maybe a napkin. Maybe. In fact, no, a wet dishcloth.
Yes. Yes. So Trump signs Proclamation. I love this.
You know it's
Trump
good. I'm
signs
getting
proclamation to ban travel from 12 countries. President Trump signed a proclamation. I love the use of this word proclamation. Wednesday evening to ban travel from several countries to the U.S., citing security risks. They're using that word to make it sound like he's taking some kind of monarchical action. But this is certainly a thing that's within his authority because we're talking about a legitimate national security concern. If there's ever been any doubt, okay, let me pop back real quick. I'm gonna pull this headline real quick because I want to make this point about.
Sergeant Major says they are making the chicken chopsticks friendly. Yes, that is correct, Sergeant Major. But as I've said, I have no intention of eating fried chicken with chopsticks. When I'm in a foreign country, I'm not your ignorant, ugly American type. Okay, I'm really not. I abide by the cultural norms while I'm there. I love Korean food. Korean food is delicious, but I'm going to draw the line on certain items. Fried chicken being one of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Did you prepare
okay.
your thing?
So, speaking, we're talking about the travel ban. CNN tells us the ban will fully restrict entry of nationals from 12 countries, and it gives the list. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And citing security risks. Okay, we mentioned briefly the Boulder, Colorado attacker. This guy was an Egyptian visa overstayer.
Yep.
So Trump has been doing a bang-up job shutting down the border, stopping illegal border crossings, and the like. And that's great. But that's not the only avenue by which unvetted criminals are able to enter the country. It's not that hard to get a visa to come over here on vacation, etc. And then overstay that visa. Now, in the case of the Boulder attacker, as we mentioned earlier, they're now talking about deporting his entire family. Well, a judge has just blocked the president and the administration. A federal judge on Wednesday ordered the government to immediately halt deportation proceedings against the wife and 5 children of a man charged in the firebombing attack in Boulder, Colorado, responding to what the judge called an urgent situation to ensure the protection of the family's constitutional rights. They don't have constitutional rights. They have God-given. Hang on. They have God-given rights, which are identical to those God-given rights which you and I enjoy as American citizens. But because they are not citizens, it is not the responsibility of the American government to protect those rights.
Isn't the way it works in reality, though? It's almost like how the NSA views what is called a U.S. person. Okay, so even if you're foreign, even if you're a foreigner, if you are within the territorial boundaries of the United States, then you are, for their purposes, a U.S. person. Isn't that how it works, though? In reality,
that is correct. You're correct. I'm glad you brought that up. You would be correct if we were talking about a person who were lawfully present in the United States.
Okay, yeah, if they're illegally present, then I agree with you completely. They shouldn't have any protection.
This family are all on visas.
Yeah.
And those visas are being revoked because of the national security threat presented by the paternal figure being a now known active terrorist. So the whole family is having their visas canceled. So yeah, you'd be 100% correct. And in fact, your statement was correct until after he committed the attack, not at the moment he committed the attack, but after he committed the attack, and the process he was due included the cancellation of his visas, at which point the family no longer qualifies as U.S. persons.
I'd also like to know how
mollified.
His wife is. I don't remember the name of his wife, but his wife is also an Arabic name, so she's probably Egyptian as well.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, so if he's overstayed his visa, how is there a wife and like 4 children? Like, I mean, are you able to bring people over when you're here, when you're already in the country illegally, and you're bringing more people into the country illegally? How is that even? I mean, I'm not
No, I
surprised.
don't think that's what happened.
It happened under the
I
Biden
don't think
regime.
that's what happened. I think they all came over on these tourist visas
God.
and overstayed those.
I thought he had a work visa. Either way, it doesn't matter. It was a visa, which means it has a finite end. Anyway, so why, real quick here. Gilbert Glenn says, do you like goat milk? Never had goat milk. The cheese is good, though. I like all cheese. Aaron Olson, are they all on visas? I don't know. I don't know if the wife was already here or if he just happened to meet another Egyptian woman in Colorado, because diversity. And Aaron Olson says it's the culture that always follows the patriarch. It's culture just to send them all back. Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, so you got, it is patently unlawful to punish individuals for the crimes of their relatives. Attorneys for the family wrote in the lawsuit. Such methods of collective or family punishment violates the very foundations of a democratic system. But Suleiman's wife, 18-year-old daughter, 2 minor sons, and 2 minor daughters are all Egyptian citizens. And Secretary Noam says we're investigating to what extent his family knew about this heinous attack, if they had knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it. She also said that federal authorities would immediately crack down on people who overstay their visas in response to the Boulder attack. No one, including his family, knew about his planned attack, according to court documents that at times spelled his name Mohammed. Suleiman's wife said she was shocked to learn her husband had been arrested in the attack, according to the lawsuit. Okay, I have a wife. Do you really think she doesn't know what I'm up to? And if at some point she was uncertain about what I'm up to, do you really think she wouldn't henpeck the absolute shit out of me until she figured something out?
Yeah. Sure.
Right? If this bitch was completely unaware that he was setting this thing up, she had to have at least suspected that he was having an affair.
No, come on. She probably went into the garage and he has this little workbench and there's his crappy homemade super soakers that he's building. Like, what are you doing with these?
That's another thing. The freaking Windex bottles just baffle me, because you know what? Super soakers aren't that expensive. It's not that hard to buy a super soaker and fill it up with gasoline if you want to go that cheap route. And you ready for this? A no shit flamethrower with a propane tank is even cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Fair play. Sergeant Majors points out Jack Barski's wife didn't know.
Yeah, but Jack Barski's like,
that's fair.
He's a trained spy. Like,
yeah,
it's a pro. Yeah, Mohammed Suleiman isn't a professional in anything other than perhaps selecting the finest goat hump powder in a bazaar. Okay, I'll trust him with that. I'll trust him to get me a good price on silver souvenirs if I'm in Cairo. That's all I'll trust him for. That's about it. Maybe how we get the good umbrella with the chairs at the Lido on Sheikh Al Sharm. If I go to the beach,
yeah.
I trust him for that. Yeah.
Bring me a clean towel.
So we have to let's ask ourselves.
Sergeant Major says, now I want to go burn some weeds. There's this berm along the edge of his pond that you can't get at it with a lawnmower. So he literally just has a fucking propane tank with a flamethrower on it that he just burns down the side of the berm to.
Yeah,
that is some proper civil engineering. Let
me tell you what, Sergeant Major. You're going to be burning a lot of weed when you're living in a van down by the river. Okay?
Shoot, buddy.
Okay. All right. So let's ask ourselves, so why now? Why now, right? Well, probably because like I said, it's a whole other topic, and we should cover it at some point. Trump did authorize basically the Palantir Panopticon Nightmare Future. You know what I mean? He signed that into law. And
Yeah.
everybody, so Trump's coming off of two major L's, okay, in the eye of the MAGA movement. One, his big beautiful bill, which is basically it's loaded. Even if he had the best of intentions, once that goes through Congress, it's going to be basically turned into a Frankenstein abomination of basically special payouts, all right, and earmarks. Okay, there's no way around it because that's what Congress is. All right, so his big beautiful bill is basically
Congress is Mos Eisley.
Yeah, basically. So a lot of money for a lot of different programs, and not a. I mean, we're spending if we're gonna do a $5 trillion bill. Don't you think we could at least finish the actual like a physical border wall? Don't you think we could at least do that? No, apparently not. No, can't do that. It's disgusting. And then you have the Panopticon bill, all right, with Palantir, where they're basically going to be able to consolidate the PII, the personal identifying information, from various different federal agencies into one. And pretty much, if you look at it, it's like 7 categories, and it's everything you would need to create a law enforcement case against someone, okay, or to be able to control someone. So Panopticon. So
when we do cover that, and that's one that we should do. God, I don't want to do more specials.
Right.
I mean, I want to do more specials, just not more than on Saturdays. But I agree, we need to get to the Panopticon bill. That may be what we cover on Monday. And in the context of that bill, we need to discuss the proto-Panopticon bill, or the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
And we need to discuss there's something akin to a future crimes predictive unit being stood up in the UK right now as well, where they purport to be able to use AI and algorithmic scans of your social media to predict the likelihood that you will commit, most especially murders. So we need to be concerned about that.
Yeah. Palantir is, I mean, it's run by 2 people. Peter Thiel, okay, billionaire tech bro, and then the other half of it is basically an Israeli man who looks like a supervillain and who hates people like us, okay, like would not approve of the content of this show, all right, at all.
Right.
So no, they absolutely cannot be trusted. It's they're a private organization, okay, that a private company that does the work that the NSA or the CIA would do, but because they're not because they're a private company, they can do that against American citizens, and it's not a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Okay, whereas the NSA and CIA cannot do that because it would be a violation of the Fourth Amendment. So that's the loophole. That's how they get away with it, and that's why libertarianism is dead. All right, dead and buried. I don't want to ever hear anything. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear any of it. Now, let me ask. So yeah, right. Terrible ideas. I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know what this is going to be used for. Okay, probably won't be anything good. It'll be like the Patriot Act, where, when it was first passed, it's like, well, we're going to use it to get the terrorists. Okay, and it's like, okay, everyone agreed with that, and then, well, now they're using it for people who take unscheduled field trips to the Capitol. All right, it's going to be the same thing, right? Exactly the same, except faster, because everything telescopes the fast.
But they won't use it for people who throw firebombs at the White House.
Maybe they will. Maybe.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. If the firebomber's wearing a MAGA hat.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Palantir is going to use the power of AI to instantly dox everyone who's a member of Antifa, and we can basically remove them from public life permanently. Okay, maybe. I seriously doubt it, but prove me wrong. You know what I mean? But so yeah, that's why Trump's doing this. This is fan service. Okay, he does two very unpopular things, so I need to do something that the base will like. Okay, which means travel bans to shithole countries, travel bans from shithole countries, fan service. Okay, that's what it is.
And
And
hey,
and
in
there's
all
probably
fairness,
already there will
I'm
be
a
an
fan.
injunction on that shit by the end of this show. I promise.
I I'm a fan of banning travel from these countries.
Oh, so am
Oh,
I.
yeah, and
Yeah,
and I agree. It is fan service. He, I I want to believe that, like with the tariffs, the and we've actually seen good results from the tariffs. They haven't been as damaging to hostile foreigners as I would have liked. Uh, but they have had some very positive impacts on even local prices. I mean, shit, I filled my truck up the other day for $2.40 a gallon. Um, that's a step in the right direction. That beats the shit out of what I was, what I was filling it up for under Biden. Uh, but it's not quite back down to Trump 1.0 levels, but we're moving back in that direction.
no, it's Daddy Trump came into your bedroom with a belt, took a belt to you, okay, slapped the shit out of you, and then came back 3 hours later with a Happy Meal, and now we can pretend we're a family again. All right, that's what Trump did. It's abuse. We're being abused. All right.
And it's, come here.
It's MAGA time.
All right, guys. That's all I've got for this morning. I've got to get on the road. I'm going to Flippin' Griffin this morning. Or I say this morning. I need to start driving this morning because I need to be there at noon.
Yep.
So,
and to the audience,
morning, guys. Go
to
ahead,
the
buddy.
audience. Yeah, to the audience, I'm not crazy. This is just what if you put me live with zero preps, this is what you get. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
All right.
Thanks for watching this morning. Tomorrow's Firearms Friday. Y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Ciao. All right.